Hey everyone, DeadPine here, and welcome to the first ever Path of Exile 2 video here on the brand new DeadPine ARPG channel. In this video, we're going to share how I went from really never playing any ARPGs at all, with zero experience in Diablo or Last Epoch, to getting to top 1000 in Dawn of the Hunt on the hardcore solo self-found leaderboards. We're going to break down the build that I used. It's so powerful. It's tanky, it hits hard, and it's really, really fun to use, so you won't want to miss that. We'll see you in there. All right, before we go over that build, I wanted to quickly go over my brief backstory with ARPGs, which is to say I started in Path of Exile 2. No Path of Exile 1, no Diablo for me. My first ARPG experience was Path of Exile 2 back in November, about 2 weeks after it launched, and I chose Ranger because I really enjoy bows. And I started hardcore solo self-found because, well, if you ever watched any of my other content, you kind of know I enjoy the hardcore lifestyle. So I knew I was going to do hardcore, and then the solo self-found in my books was I don't have to worry about trading for stuff. I don't have to worry about min-maxing to the nth degree. I can just use whatever I got in front of me and kind of go from there. So my only goal going into that first league was to beat the first 3 acts with no build guides and no, I can't say no outside help because Twitch chat kind of helped me a lot. They helped me mostly with mechanical stuff. They were pretty good about not like telling me exactly what to do, and we learned a ton. We got to experience the game, how a new player can only experience the game, and it was just an absolute blast. And we accomplished that goal. In about 6 weeks, we beat the first 3 acts with no build guides. We used Lightning Arrow, Lightning Rod, and kind of got there with some pretty grinded out OP gear. Yeah, it was really satisfying getting to the end of Act 3 all by myself, loosely. Twitch chat, of course, helped. Then I decided to hop onto a OP character that I knew could get me to the end game because I kind of wanted to experience. I knew there was maps. I knew there was something past the campaign just to understand the mechanics because we were already like 6 to 8 weeks in and people were already thinking next league by that point. So I wanted to have a little bit of experience with that, with a character I knew worked prior to that league so that I could try again on the next league to build my own character up to that point. And so we decided to build a witch. Gas Arrow Witch, super fun, very OP in the first ever PoE2 league, and it just kind of cruised all the way to level 73. Yeah, then I kind of got distracted by some other games, and we were kind of in the waiting room for Dawn of the Hunt. So, after a few weeks, Dawn of the Hunt finally hits, and I get to experience a fresh league for the first time, which is really fun. I kind of went in with no expectations, no pressures, and kind of no goals, which was actually a little bit of a mistake. I should have had a plan or what I wanted to accomplish. So the first week I was playing, it was just a lot of death. It was more fun to have a specific goal, which I eventually landed on. Let's get Huntress to maps. That was the narrow focus I had. Let's ignore all the other noise and let's just get Huntress to maps with whatever. I kept dying a lot. I kept hitting a wall in end of Act 3, start of Act 4. Yeah, I think it was just lack of defenses, maybe still unfamiliar with some of the mechanics of the game because I'm still fairly new at this point. I don't have the consistency of knowing all the act bosses well or even just ARPG mechanics well, you know? Sometimes those would still get me. And that led me to seeking out a build as opposed to trying to make my own work just to change it up, keep it fresh. And I wanted to get to late game in Dawn of the Hunt, see the changes that they had made. So I landed on Nugian's Bloodmage that uses Lightning Spear for clear, Rake and Blood Hunt for single target damage. And it was really fun to start leveling up, really fun to play. It was very smooth. It actually played very similar to the Amazons that I was playing. It just had a lot more defense. So it was able to get me through that hump of the Act 3 to 4, kind of like build wasn't quite complete, was lacking a little bit of damage, and got me into the late game. Now, also around this time, 2 streamer buddies of mine were racing for top 1000 in hardcore solo self-found, which at the time was about level 85. That made following the guide more fun for me. I had a blast because I was like, okay, there's a real goal at the end of this, and I want to use something powerful and good. So that's why I ended up really enjoying this build more than I initially thought I was. I was just planning on this to be a little break from me trying to make my own build and then go back to it. But that race to top 1000, that kind of goal, superseded that, and I I got into it. I wasn't expecting to enjoy racing and leaderboard grinding to be as much fun as it was. All right, let's go over the actual build now. So this is a Nugian build. I'm going to link that down below. Definitely check out his PoE2 Ninja. And this build is based off of Rake, Blood Hunt, and Lightning Spear. Lightning Spear is your clear. You use Barrage and Cast on Critical in order to generate Frenzy charges, and it should just obliterate screens. It's really nice with all the critical hit nodes. All right, Editor Pine here with a little bit of interjection. Past DeadPine completely forgot the linchpin of this build, which is the Tangle Tongue. It just kind of glues this build together with its key node of Fork's critical hits. This basically says you roll critical hits twice and choose the highest one. So not only does it give you a crazy high chance to do an initial critical hit, but it also states that if you were to roll them both, you get double critical hits. So the multiplication just goes nuts here, and it's the reason a 47 to 93 base physical damage spear can carry you all the way into late game, because the multiplication is just absolutely silly. This does mean you do want to prioritize damage on your rings and gloves, because you do need to get that damage from somewhere. But yeah, the critical hit chance, the extra critical hit chance, as well as the forking critical hits are just so key for this build. And this is I think this is the most powerful unique item that you can get easily with chance orbs in Hardcore Solo Self-Found. So I would be saving all your forking spears to try and roll a Tangle Tongue. That critical hit, and it goes nuts. You can clear entire screens, especially when you have a frenzy charge. It's really smooth sailing. So that's your clear. And then the Rake and Blood Hunt are your single target damage, hence the Bloodmage and the Bleedmage style of play here. You have Rake, and the really important support gem on Rake is Deep Cuts. It just adds orders of magnitudes to the bleed, which is very important. Then you're looking to get Inevitable Crit, Momentum, and Concentrated Effect. That just helps you deal damage while critical hitting. So when you critical hit and bleed, the critical hit applies to the bleed itself and does the percentage more damage over time with the critical hit. So that's why the critical hit is so powerful with bleeds. And then once you hit them with one bleed on the Rake, you hit them with Blood Hunt, which then causes them to take a massive amount of damage. But the really important key for Blood Hunt is having the support gem Impale. This basically says the next hit you're going to do is going to do a lot more damage. So when you hit it with another Rake, the bleed damage that you get from there is just absolutely absurd. It's so magnified, and it just melts bosses. It really does. And on top of that, you add the Lightning Spear, shocking them to add exposure. That helps with the magnitude of bleed damage, all that stuff and more. So that's like the basic overview of the build. Again, you can check out the links down below on the actual late game part of the build. It works very well. It's very smooth. So you may be wondering why the link down below is on Bloodmage 3 and not my first one. Our first character ever we built on this was smooth sailing up into maps. We got it all the way to level 84. It was very easy, and I didn't pay attention during an expedition. I gave the monsters guaranteed crits. I made it so I couldn't evade. So half of my defense is gone. And then I gave him 40% extra damage. And all I had to do was read. It wasn't the build fault. It was totally my fault. And I got really just insta-killed. It was a 2-shot, but like it was so fast, it was basically an insta-kill. Yeah, so that was a bit of a bummer. It was a bit of a bummer. And I actually questioned for a little bit whether I wanted to like keep racing and keep going for the top 1,000. Because at that point, like there was a chance I could catch up. But yeah, it was a bit of a struggle there, but I slept on it and was like, okay, we go again. It's fine. So I ended up making a second character. That character died to Jamin Ra in a really cheesy way in Act 2. That was super unfortunate. I just had my head sticking out of the sand bubble a little bit, and it just killed me too fast. It wasn't quite an insta shot. I should have been paying attention a little bit more, but honestly, that death felt cheesy to me. But yeah, we got Bloodmage 3 going, and it performed amazingly. So to conclude everything, we got to top 1,000. We hit level 87, or we got top 1,000 by hitting level 86, actually. And it was a really awesome achievement. Even following another person's build, getting top 1,000, my second league ever, is pretty cool. Like that's no small feat. Even if you follow a build guide, there's still a lot of mechanics to be learned in the game. There's still a lot of boss fights to be learned in the game. And yeah, it was a really good time, a really fun journey so far. I am unfortunately dead on that character. We died to another bit of cheese at level 87. We peaked at 835 on the leaderboard, but yeah, we had a little circle that I couldn't quite see, and I paused to react to chat and something, and it one shot us from 5400 health, by the way, at level 87, which was really rough. Kind of that one was more of my fault, a little less of cheese, but even still, I was planning on taking this character maybe to top 500, but it unfortunately died, so we couldn't quite get to that point, and that's okay. That's really okay. There's more fun to be had in Dawn of the Hunt. I think we might try next just revisiting that Amazon build that I was doing. So yeah, that's how I got top 1000 in my second league ever in hardcore solo self-found. I've learned a ton. I've learned a ton in these past few months here. I'm really loving Path of Exile 2, so much so that I decided to make its own dedicated YouTube channel. The videos on the channel are going to be kind of dedicated to hardcore solo self-found, a little bit of build stuff, a little bit of news, maybe a little bit of patch notes going over and how it pertains to hardcore solo self-found, and kind of leaderboard grinding things, all that kind of stuff. I think a couple of major long-term goals for the channel are going to be level 100 character in hardcore solo self-found. That's not easy to do. Getting to maps and leaderboard with my own build, becoming savvy enough to do a build that's maybe not necessarily, super unique, but is my own thing. I didn't follow a guide for it, that type of thing. So definitely aiming for top 100. I don't know if I'm going to do that in Dawn of the Hunt or the next league, but that's the next immediate goal, is top 100 on the hardcore solo self-found leaderboard. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you are too. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed yourselves here, and I'll catch you in the next video.